All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Off TRAQ, our golf podcast where we debate anything and everything related to golf. Today, we're going to be talking about Jon Rahm and the rumors that he might be leaving the tour. Some interesting data came out about distance changes from the top players this year. And love him or hate him, LeBron James is now a YouTube golfer. So talking about his newfound passion in the world of golf. But before we get started, do us a quick favor. If you enjoy Off TRAQ, hit subscribe, like the video, and drop us a comment. It really does help golfers find the show that you already enjoy. And we also want to hear from you. If there's a topic you want us to talk about or a question you want answered, put it in the comments, send us a message, and we'll talk about it in future episodes. All right, let's get into it. Charles, how you feeling today?
I am so tired. I am so tired. So we're filming on Sunday, August 16th, and yesterday we had our first friends and family live event to showcase and demo the product that we've been working on for the better part of the last year. For me, a little longer than that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, but I am so tired today.
So for our listeners, Charles and I work in the evenings a lot. So I think we were on at 9 to 11 and we were just like zombies. There was a stretch of 20 minutes where we're on this call and we just didn't say anything to each other. So I agree. A lot of fun. Be releasing some clips in the coming days or hopefully they'll be out by the time this episode is out. But actually a really good point that we had the event yesterday and why I wanted to talk about today's main topic, which is what is TRAQ? Right. So I thought I'd give us a little bit of a pass because, this podcast is more about everything going on in golf, some of the more interesting conversations, and we don't really plug ourselves a lot, although this podcast is sponsored by TRAQ Golf, but we don't actually talk about what we've built. What is the company? What is the product? So to get our listeners a little bit more acquainted with what we actually do, I would love to actually talk about what is TRAQ, what are some of our products, but more than that, just hear, Charles, why did you start the company, right? Where did this come from? I think you have such interesting stories about what led you here. And then, as for myself, having joined the company, it's been such a cool ride getting to start a golf company, right? So I thought our listeners would enjoy a little bit of behind the scenes of what is it like to start a golf company from scratch?
Yeah, it's definitely been a lot of fun. And I think even my wife would say that there's a different level of excitement, even when I'm dead tired, especially now that I have a 9-month-old and losing a lot of sleep. But there's still a lot of excitement in working on it because I am passionate about the sport. It really started, I think, with a very frustrating thing that I was feeling, which I think is pretty universal, which is the fact that most golfers spend a lot of time and money at the range, at lessons, and we're not getting good at the pace that we think we should. We talked about it in previous episodes about different handicap levels where we were stuck in, and I mentioned that I was stuck in the teens for the better part of a decade, and I felt like I wasn't improving and able to get through that plateau. And the genesis of the TRAQ spray was one day I was at the range very early at 5:30. And it's very rare that here in Southern California, you get frost on the range mats. But that day there was frost. And so I was hitting my normal, practice warm-up shots before my round. And I noticed that because there was frost on the mats, it was showing impact patterns. And I was hitting everything chunky about 3-4 inches behind, but the ball flight was perfect. So that was kind of the eureka moment and the point where I was like, why isn't there any sort of marking that can show where your impact is? Because that day, I think I played one of my best rounds, in that era of my golf. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of my TRAQ journey. But that idea stayed in my head for almost a decade. Because I was like, someone else is working on this problem and solution. And so I'm not going to start when someone else has a head start. So I just waited and waited and waited for almost 10 years before I finally said, I guess no one's working on it. Let me take a stab at it.
So I think that's so interesting that you say, somebody else is working on this, because one of the comments that we get most from people who don't really know who we are, have never really tried our products, especially on socials, you social media warriors out there, is, hey, this is just foot spray, right? Which, yeah, we obviously tried that. right? Like we would not make a product if you can literally go buy something off the shelf and it'll do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
What were the other products, including foot spray, that you tried? And, why didn't you just say, oh, okay, I'm just going to use that thing over there and it gives me exactly what I want?
Yeah, foot spray is the first thing that I tried because a lot of golfers already use foot spray to spray like your driver head. And it shows you exactly where your ball makes an imprint. And it's great for your club head or your club face, but it doesn't work well on the turf. It will show a mark, but the impact marking is actually not clear. Maybe it also depends on the brand, but I did play around with like 3 different foot spray brands and it also stains the mat. But the worst thing for me was there are ingredients in foot spray that is not very healthy, both for humans as well as animals to inhale. And so I wouldn't want to use it. And actually, when I do testing for some of our earlier content, we actually did a side-by-side TRAQ versus foot spray. And I did it in my garage. And the foot spray gave me a horrible headache. I mean, you should be able to spray it on your feet indoors, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know a lot of people who are going to go outside just to spray athletes' foot spray on their foot. So yeah, that's probably that's a little weird.
Yeah. So TRAQ, I don't get that, but with foot spray, I got that. Some of the other stuff that I played around with was I played around with like chalk. I played around with chalk powder. Played around with dry shampoo. I played around with baby powder, and I even played around with hairspray. There's certain hairsprays that actually leave a bit of a white residue, and so I tried playing around with that as well. And obviously, they all don't do the job perfectly. The issue with chalk is that huge puff of smoke, but it actually doesn't show like the exact imprint of your impact that well. Hairspray and some of these other products, you see the marking, but same thing, none of it really comes off and it actually stains the mat. And so I've spoken with a lot of groundskeepers and they actually say that they've seen people use foot spray on the mats, but it is such a pain for them to get it off. So the key component was obviously show impact, but it also had to be a product or an ingredient that comes off the mat or doesn't change the quality of the mat. Because obviously some ranges are spending a lot of money replacing these mats for their golfers.
Okay, so I don't want to turn this into a giant ad, even though, again, TRAQgolf.com, just for everybody out there, in case you want to go check it out. But I do want to hear, okay, so obviously you had this epiphany, there was this journey, right? And then you and I met, God, when was this? It was right after I moved to California.
And it was like right before the pandemic.
So the backstory, just so our listeners know, because I don't think we've ever talked about this. Charles and I met at a church event, right? It was like a social event. And then somewhere in the middle of that, it was like everybody getting to know each other kind of a thing. And Charles goes, oh yeah, I golf. And then like my friends all turned to me and just looked at me. And then they go, Roy, he golfs. Because within my circle of friends, I was always known as the golf nerd, right? Like obsessed. That's all I did. And apparently Charles also in his circle of friends known as the golf nerd, obsessed, always getting better, knows everything about equipment. And we were collectively that friend that everybody has whenever you have an equipment question or a swing question, you go ask Charles or Roy. Now it's you go ask Charles and Roy, right? So since then we have been friends, and with the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of things you could do, so we would just go out and golf, and that was the start of our friendship.
We met up at the range once, and then everything shut down. But after that one range session, I was like, okay, he's gonna be my friend. Because the big thing for me is being the person that knows the most about golf in your social circle. It's very hard to find someone that will give you good tips or tell you what you're doing wrong, or even challenge you a little bit if, what you say they think is, there might be a better way. But I feel like I was like, okay, I found my equal, someone that can, challenge me, but also can like help me improve my game. And so, after that range session, I was like, I can't lose this guy. We've got to be friends. But then
we could do mental sparring.
Yeah. But then the world shut down.
But that ended up being good, right? And I do remember this because back in the early days when you, before you went to the dark side and lived out on the west side of Los Angeles, where I currently am, we would go to Westchester Range.
Mhm.
And I remember being out there until like the lights. I think we've collectively gotten kicked out of that range at least actually a few times,
Yeah.
because they shut down, they close down, the lights are off, and they're just like, cool, find your way to the parking lot. Um, but the other thing that was really interesting that you and I also bonded over was we both have tech backgrounds. You with what I now call the classical AI, right? So all of the like stuff that honestly to this day nobody really understands how it works unless you work in this space. And then I was running data and AI for a large soda company that is not Coca-Cola. For in case anybody wants to know who it is.
I wonder which one it is.
Yeah. But it's even to this day, I get asked questions of like, what are you guys building? Like, are you making an app? Are you making like software? Are you making golf software? Because professionally, I've been in the software and tech world for the better part of 20 years now. And similar for you too. You've been more in the tech side. What made you confident enough to jump to a physical product? Especially one that has a very high chemistry component, right? And like, I don't know about you, but like, I did not do well in chemistry when I was growing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't too bad at chemistry, but definitely not qualified to do anything like this. The one thing though is, for me, I've lived in the startup world my entire professional career, minus like the first like 9 months. And so for me there, I think is I'm willing to take a lot more risks, and I'm also willing to really explore and take a chance at finding out an answer. And I think the biggest skill that I've learned as an entrepreneur is that it's okay to just ask a lot of people and say, hey, I don't know this. And always get surprised how many people are willing to help. And so for everything that I've worked on, every company that I've, started, it's been in something that I'm not always 100% familiar with. Obviously, there has to be some sort of interest, but I just start hitting up people in that space. So when we first started, we created security protocols for banking and finance. I just started calling up executives at banks and financial institutions, and a lot of them responded, would jump on a call, or if they're local, would grab coffee with me. And I think I got some of our early clients just originally meeting up as hey, I want to pick your brain. I'm trying to do something in your industry, and I respect you enough where I want to hear from you. So even for TRAQ, I just started calling up. I actually started off by calling chemistry professors, emailing them at the universities here, UCLA at USC. And I basically said, hey, this is what I'm trying to solve. Do you know anyone, or can you point me in the right direction of how to even get this started? Another thing that I started to do was I started to call chemical manufacturers here locally in the US. And I asked them, hey, do you guys do any formulation yourself, or like who does this kind of work? And so a lot of it was just exploring and me reaching out to people. And again, going back to what my originally was saying, a lot of people are willing to help, but a lot of people are scared to ask for help. And I think I've kind of overcome that barrier. And so, yeah, I'm not shy about asking people for help and wanting to pick their brain.
What about the other side? Right. So now we have a physical product, or we have two physical products, I should say. Right. So we have the spray. And actually, would you mind, because we kind of glossed over this real quick. Would you mind explaining how you use the spray? Right. Because we talk about it, obviously it's the spray. We talk about the powder. But it's actually different than what most people think, because I think the reaction I get the most is like, oh, are you going to spray it on the face? You use, again, athletes would spray for that, right? And that's not actually the intention. But how do we actually recommend using the spray? Just mention that real quick.
Yeah, for me, I personally use it for two simple drills. One is we call it the impact zone, and it's a rectangle that you create on either side. So for me, I have an issue in the past of chunking, and so I would draw it behind the ball. Some people who don't make a divot might want to make it in front of the ball, and some people might want to just do both. In the beginning, as I was learning, I think I did put it both on the left and the right side, so I know what the impact pattern behind and front of the ball look like. So yeah, it just mimics what a grass range should do and what your environment when you play on the course should be. So really understanding divot, I think, is the biggest thing, because when you go to the range for amateurs, you look at ball flight. I can't even say 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 people at the range are usually just looking at ball flight and maybe feel. If you are a little bit advanced, I was going by feel in the past of, do you think that hit the right part of your club? But with the frost story I told you, I thought I was striking it very cleanly, but I was hitting everything 2 to 4 inches behind the ball. And because the mat is forgiving, I was getting perfect ball flight. So that's the main way that I use it. So as I'm working on my swing, any changes that I make, I want to make sure that not only does the ball fly well, but am I making the correct impact pattern? Because you can do all sorts of crazy things in your backswing at the start of your downswing. But as you know, most pros have a near identical impact position. And so that's where I also think is the most important part of your game. And you need visual feedback to see that. The other way that I use it is I realize I'm a highly visual learner. And so even when I go play on the course, there's a lot of visual cues and drills that I try to reimagine on the golf course as well. So I really love the gate drill, where it is like putting 2 alignment sticks, but putting it right at the width of your club. And that's actually how the pros practice. But none of us amateurs are brave enough, or maybe you are brave enough, but then there are some severe consequences of putting your golf alignment stick, 3.5, 4 inches apart from each other with the ball in the middle, right? So those are the 2 main ways I do it.
I remember one of our early tests. So this is like before we even had a website. We were at the range testing. And it was Rancho, because this is just such a vivid memory for me, because this was my big like aha moment. You had brought your GC3 and we were testing ball flight. But we were testing ball flight on the mat if you catch one clean and if you chunk one. And we were measuring chunked by where on the impact zone it was actually happening. I can obviously tell it's a little chunky, but I think the difference between like a little chunky and like very chunky, especially if you have a relatively shallow swing, like that's so subtle, right? So I think for me, the big aha moment was I hit one 3 inches fat, like on purpose. I was just coming down like really hard. And then the ball flight, the GC3, the numbers were like near identical to like the clean shot.
Yeah.
Right. So that one was a big one for me. And then the other thing that I'll do is when I'm chipping, right? Because you pointed this out to me, right? And this is the other part of what Charles was saying. Like, I think Charles knows my swing so well, and I know Charles's swing so well. We just like diagnose each other like on the fly all the time. But one of the things you said to me once was my chipping is terrible, but it's because I was just coming in right straight away versus kind of keeping a line. Again, obviously you could do that with an alignment rod, but you also happen to have an alignment rod that's duct taped back together because you were doing a drill like this. You hit the alignment rod and then it went flying downrange, right? And I still remember this. Like, I still remember exactly at the range, like where in the range we were standing. And I have a mental image of you just being like, I'll get it later. like whatever. We'll figure out how to get it later. But it's also not uncommon. I feel like you see that at the range all the time, where somebody's just like, hey, everybody just like stop hitting for a second because something went flying down range. Hopefully it's not a club head, but I see that all the time too. But yeah, that's how I'll use it, right? So like the alignment, like the takeaway, just watching my club head go back a certain distance. Because I noticed like I feel like I'm doing it, but as your head turns to even watch it, right, your angles all change. So that in and of itself, what was really cool for me. But then also just I think the other product, again, just to plug ourselves a little, is the Blueprint, right? And it just gives you so much flexibility because anything you could do with an alignment rod. My other favorite moment was you hit a natural fade, and we're like, hey, let's actually make a drill that teaches you how to hit a draw, right? And when you were doing what we call the X drill, and then all of a sudden you were hitting baby draws, and you're just like, wait, how do I stop hitting draws now? like now there's a draw swing. So yeah, those are some of the like key things that I remember about when we were getting started.
And the interesting thing about alignment sticks is obviously it's a great tool and the pros use it. But for amateurs, when a physical object is there, because there are consequences of you hitting it, either it's physical pain or it's just embarrassment, right? And so people swing differently. And I noticed that on every one of my friends, whenever we put an alignment stick, their swing changes, their tempo changes, their swing speed gets drastically reduced. And not having that, but still getting the same benefits, I think is a huge, huge thing. Another thing that, I love about being able to create markings that come off the mat is that with my daughter, she is 5, but we started doing this when we were testing our prototypes when she was 4. She obviously loves to just do everything that dad does. So she likes to golf. What I would do is I would make little games, but it's actually like setup. I would draw a little circle around where her feet should go. And it's a game where every time you got to put your feet there and then the ball goes here. And that puts her in almost like a perfect like stance, right? And it's so funny that we use this exact same drill on Alex because when Alex...
It works both for 4-year-olds and podcast producers.
Yes.
Same.
I noticed with Alex that we're working on his swing and his stance is different every single time. Like his feet are a little open, it's neutral, it's a little closed. And so we had a range session where I was like, let me do the same drill that I do for my daughter for Alex. And when your stance changes, it makes working on your swing so much harder because now your body is in a different position every single time. You're adding more variables to a sport that is already filled with variables. And so I think that's one of the key things is the fundamentals is your stance and your grip, right? And so, yeah, I feel like that day, like we got Alex working on his swing and not him fighting his stance.
Yeah.
Alex, do you remember that day?
No, yeah, I definitely remember that range session because it was eye-opening for me. Because every time I stand to the ball, it's extremely different. Do you guys remember that one video from the Barstool Sports guys when they learned from Rory? And then he set up the way that he would set up, and then he put little like tees on where his feet are.
Yeah.
And then you guys kind of did the same thing with me, with like where you would stand with your feet. And I felt like I was doing the splits. Because I was like, I am not used to, and Roy tells me all the time, he's like, yo, you got to spread your legs a little bit wider. You got to like widen your stance. And I was always like, I am as wide as it goes. And when I set up to the way that you guys set up, I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like I'm like doing the splits right now.
Because Alex, how tall are you? Are you like 6'1"?
I'm like
6'?
a little, 6'1".
6'1"?
Uh-huh.
I'm 5'9", and your stance is narrower than me.
Yeah, it was. It was. And then like I remember once I just set up to it without even looking at the markings and my feet were nowhere near where they were set up before.
Yeah.
So,
no, not even close.
Yeah.
Personally for me, I think it's such a simple thing, but that's like one of the biggest things why I track like the spray actually helps me is like just where my feet were the last time I swung the club, which is a silly concept, but
no, I remember that session because I think your driver stance is closer to my like chipping stance. Like, when people say like, you put your feet together when you chip, right? Like that's literally how I felt stepping into like what your normal driver stance would be. And we're the same height, right? So that's, that was saying a lot. So the other question is, I feel like for most golfers, there's two things that most golfers say. One is, if I had the chance to just practice for a year, like I can make it on tour. Like every golfer has told themselves that lie at some point, even though, for me, it's not a lie. Charles, for you, I'm sure it's not a lie. Like that we could actually make it on tour. Definitely not. The other thing is like, everybody says like, oh God, I would love to work in golf, right? Like make your passion your job. We've now done it. How do you feel about taking your hobby and one of your personal passions and now making it your full-time job, right? Because this is something that I feel like most people think is like, oh my God, I'm just going to get to golf all the time, and just like this, it's going to be a dream. Has it been that for you? How do you feel about that?
I can say that the amount of rounds I play have definitely come down since making this. Because before the time that I had, I think, to play golf now we're working on creating something for golf. So luckily, we have another tech product that's coming out, which has allowed us a reason to go out and play a little bit more, which we'll, touch upon later. And the mind frame that you're in when you're there to test the product is a little bit different than when you're just there recreationally to enjoy the game. So there are rounds where you and I specifically have to say, today we're going out there just to golf, not to work.
This is a fun round.
Yeah. So that puts us in a different frame of mind. But still, the journey so far, I've loved every aspect of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's, obviously, and we both still have, I don't want to call it day jobs, but we also do other work. But, this is obviously, starting this company is full-time work in and of itself. But I would agree with you. At our friends and family yesterday, somebody was like, "Oh, you guys must golf all the time." And I was like, actually, I think I'm at like one round every 2 months these days. Because exactly what you're saying. It's like, if we have time, it's like we're working on stuff, not necessarily going out to golf. Although I probably practice more than I used to. But that's mostly because you can't be the co-founder of a golf company and be bad at golf.
Yes.
Right? Like we've said this, right? Like we can't show up to like industry events and we're just like terrible, right? So like that has forced me to practice and work on my game with a level of intentionality that just like for my own personal sake, I never probably would have done.
That's the first piece of advice I got from others in the industry who own golf companies is just know that they're going to judge your company based on your golf skill. And so work on your game. If you can't break, a bogey game, like they will judge you. And that does kind of make sense, right? Like if you are creating a product to help others get better, you should not be, playing worse than
you can't be bad, right?
Yeah.
Then they're gonna be like, "Oh, your product doesn't work," right? So,
you guys are never allowed to chunk a ball ever again with the spray now. That doesn't work. It doesn't work.
To be fair, I actually don't chunk balls nearly as much as I used to. I do maybe hit a little bit thinner than I used to, but yeah, I actually don't chunk it as much as I used to pre-track.
Yeah, yesterday I purposely tried to chunk a ball, and I hit, I think, a perfect shot because we were demoing the product, and so I hit my first iron swing, and it was a great shot. And it's so funny because so many people caught that on film, so we'll put it up on social media. But I had the impact zone, the ball in front of it, and I hit it perfect divot. And so I was like, okay, guys, like let me now show you what it looks like if it's a chunky shot. And then I take a swing, and it's another perfect shot. So
perfect shot. Like he couldn't chunk it on demand, no matter how hard he tried. It took a few attempts. Which is good.
How were the reactions by people? Did they like realize they're chunking all their shots, or like what?
Yeah, the feedback yesterday, a lot of people were surprised how chunky they were hitting it at the range. And so we had very positive feedback from people that were trying it. And it was for them also a lot of light bulb moments, but not just the impact zone as well, but also the alignment aids. Just doing a simple gate drill, we have a few guys that were just like suddenly striping their drives. And I know one particular person was struggling with his driver, and he spent like 30 minutes just with the gate drill, and he was striping it. He was like, I need to go play right now.
Yeah.
and I was telling him, well, this is why you need to, warm up with this so that you can go play right afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great.
I think the gate one is a favorite, right? Like a fan favorite from all of the testing that we've done. Just because for most people, like you said, you're never going to put your alignment rods that close to your ball. And so you're never really going to be able to take advantage of a visual that's that tight around your ball to see where the path should be, right? Because most people think that it's this big arc around them, right? So they look at it like a semicircle, but at the point of impact, it's like, it's a relatively straight line just before and after the ball, right? And so now that you see that, like, that's great. And you don't have to worry. But also if you're a little off, you see where the spray comes off. And so, I think that was a big one yesterday. The other thing that I was walking around just kind of helping people with is, we had one guy hitting duck hooks, right? Just like high, tall, towering duck hooks. And I gave him the reverse of the extra that you had tried, which is, hey, feel like you're coming out to in a little bit and keep your club face open. Right? Like don't try to shut it down. And what he thought was out to in versus what he felt having to trace one out to in was so off, right? And it was, and like I looked at it, I was like, oh no, you're still very much coming into out. And so, you know, I think there's this interesting thing with golf, is that your body just like gets used to tweaks and adjustments so quickly that what you think you feel versus what's actually happening, there can often be like a huge gap, right? Like that's what I noticed about myself.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I'll work on something, it's great. And then my body just like adjusts to it. And all of a sudden that feel just isn't right anymore, right? So having something that's a little bit more discreet, right? Like I think that's actually been really helpful.
Yeah, you know, we may have talked about this in an earlier episode, but we talked about different types of golfers, whether you're feel-based or not. And I try actually not to be too feel-based because I feel that feel is misleading me a lot of times. But I know, you know, you are a feel player. Obviously, Tiger is a feel player. And so there's nothing wrong with it. But the perception of what you're feeling and what your club is actually doing is often very, very difficult for amateurs. Now, pros, they have coaches that are there more than once every couple of weeks, right? They're there all the time. Their caddies are there. They, you know, even Tiger has a practice partner. I think they're like high school buddies, and a former golf player as well. They always have this sort of support system, and we amateurs don't have that unless you find yourself a Roy. And so I think that is the missing thing that we're trying to make with TRAQ, though, is to create this feedback loop that you can trust, even if you're by yourself, that there is some sort of feedback visually. And you know, we take in, I think, like 90% of our data through vision. And so what better way to create some sort of feedback loop than something that's visual based? But you know, I want to take a quick segue and talk to you, Roy, a little bit about, I don't feel like it took too much convincing to have you start working on this, but I'd love to hear a little bit about like what, you know, where were you at? Like, what did you think when I, you know, initially asked about the potential of you, you know, joining on as a co-founder? I don't think we ever openly talked about this, so I'm actually kind of curious to hear this side as well.
No, I don't think we have either. And it was one of those, like, you know, the analogy of the frog in the boiling pot. It's like if you throw a frog in boiling water, it jumps out, right? But if you put a frog in cold water and then like slowly warm up the water, he'll just get used to it, and then that's just, and, you know, and then he'll say. So this is one of those, because you're right. It was never like a big bang moment, and we also haven't talked about it since. But it was like I knew you were starting it, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then you're like, do you want to come help test it? And I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And then you're like, hey, can you 3D print me this part? Like, absolutely, I can help 3D print this part. And then I'm like, you know, doing CAD work and helping you, you know, design what eventually became the blueprint. You know, we're going through versions of that. And then it was like you were shooting the first reel, right? It was like the first spot. It was like the teaser of, like, you know, TRAQ golf before everything got set up. And you're like, hey, you want to come help? Because, you know, obviously I have a background in marketing and everything. So I was like, yeah, absolutely. And you were like, bring your clubs. I'm like, oh, even better, right? I remember that day so vividly.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I'm just like, I'm working at the company.
Yeah.
But
I did formally ask after that.
You did. But at that point, it felt like it was just kind of a formality, right? Like it was. I was so willing to help you, obviously, because you're a good friend, and because from the outside in, when you think about like, oh my God, this is so cool, you're getting to R&D and work on new golf products, right? That was so enticing. And you know, it still is. It's still such an exciting thing. You know, I think some of my favorite work that we still do right now is like when we're talking about evolution of some of our products, or when we're talking about R&Ding our next product, because we have like an R&D list of like the next like 5 or 6 products that we're gonna to pull out, right? Like so like that truly does not feel like work, right? Like that's just fun and exciting, because I've gone startup, corporate. Like I'll be like, I'm done with corporate. I'm going to startup, and then I'll work in startup for a while. I'll be like, I'm done with this. I'm going to corporate, right?
Yeah.
I think this one is different in that everything we do still feels interesting and fun, even if it's tiring and exhausting because there's a large volume of it. Like last night when we were both like zombies, it's still a lot of fun because you get to see a product come to life in something that you are personally passionate about. And we get to tweak things. I'm like, oh, this is actually going to help my golf game, and be able to apply things in that way. So that has been an actually really, really fun for the last year.
Did you ever have doubts about, is this really going to be helpful, or is this really worth working on? Because for me, when I first thought about pursuing this, I had a lot of doubters.
Mm-hmm.
And in my entrepreneurial journey, I had an exit. And so I think for tech products, both investors as well as friends give me the benefit of the doubt. And so even if it might seem a little bit like a bad idea, they're like, well, if Charles thinks it's a good idea, then, he must know something. But I had a lot of friends think that starting a golf company was a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I was and we've never, you and I've never talked about this. I was actually kind of curious. Have you ever had moments of doubt or just pause on, should I really be working on this when I could be spending my time doing something else?
Sleeping. No. So I wouldn't call it a doubt. There's this famous chef. I used to watch a lot of Food Channel. But there's this famous chef, Alton Brown. I think he's now like the host of Iron Chef or something. I remember him. He would be famous for saying like, you should never have a tool in the kitchen that only serves one purpose. And so when I first started hearing you talk about the spray, it's not that I thought it wouldn't be valuable. I was actually wondering like, is this so niche, right? Is this such a niche product for like a very specific problem that, like a lot of golf products, you buy it and then you just kind of stop using it after a certain point, right? Because I feel like that's been my journey with like 95% of golf training aids and products that I've ever had, right? Which is, like again, like alignment sticks are great. I still have alignment sticks in my bag. That's probably the only other training aid that consistently goes around with me. Is an alignment stick, even though, I mean, now all they do is hold my towels because I just use the spray. But that was, again, not a concern, but like a curiosity for me. Mm-hmm. And then as we started working on the blueprint, right? And just, I think, I don't know if I said to everybody what it is, but the blueprint is a flexible silicone stencil that is tuned so that you can make all of our drills on the mat very easily and quickly, right? So straight parallel lines, an impact zone, like Charles mentioned, measurement tools, etc. So when we started working on that, and then all of the drills started unlocking for me, like, oh, this is not just check your impact. This is the gate drill. This is the takeaway check. This is help you with a draw or a fade. This is like, we don't talk about this a lot, but you can use this on grass. So like just little things like that. All of a sudden for me, this like as those unlocked, it's like, oh, this is actually a very multi-utility tool, right? It's not a one-trick pony. The spray can evolve with me as different parts of my game evolve. That actually got me very excited, right? So between the blueprint and working on that, that's where for me it was like the big aha. And truthfully, it's like I don't pull out the spray every single time I hit a golf ball. It's like more it's a focused utility thing, right? Like what am I working on? What do I need help on? If I'm just going to hit like, 10 or 15 shots in my backyard because I have a few minutes, like I don't always pull out the spray for that. So it's always, it's very much like this helps me train certain things as I need to. So that has, since that I unlocked that, now it's less like, oh, this is a one-trick pony. This is like, oh, this is actually just a very useful thing to have in the bag.
Okay, but TRAQ is not just a spray company. right? It's kind of the gateway to a lot of other things that we're building. And we're really excited to be also launching an app that should be coming out in the next few weeks. Roy, do you want to share with our audience a little bit about what that app's going to do?
Yeah. So the app is called TRAQ Play. And, like Charles just said, it's not a spray. We're not a spray company. We are all aspects of a golfer in support of a golfer. So, with the spray and the blueprint, you've now done all this training and you've gotten better. So naturally, where do you take that? You take it to the course and you start competing and hopefully beating your friends and taking some money off of them. But what we noticed is that, most of the apps out there, and no disrespect to them, I have all of them downloaded on my phone. They're focused on you as a golfer and your round and your score. And realistically, I don't think that's how most of us play golf. Right? Most of us play with our foursomes, or at least that group of friends that would call to play. We're playing matches, but a lot of the times, we don't want to play the matches because they're annoying to score. Right. And so I think, Charles, you have almost always been the designated scorer for the group because you know the rules of the games. And a lot of people are just not good at math. And that's annoying, right? But it's also, it brings you into this like paper and pencil, and it's just you. It's not like a big shared environment. And it kind of takes away from the competitive nature of what's going on. So we designed TRAQ Play to have all of the features of, your golfing app. So you can track your rounds. It has live GPS. It has your historical rounds and your performance and your change and all of that. But really at the forefront of it all is the match that you're playing, right? So we have stroke play, Stableford, match play, 4-ball, high-low, wolf. We have all of the games unlocked from the beginning. And really what you're doing is you can just focus on playing, but it's showing you exactly how it's being scored. It's giving you key moments like, hey, if you don't win this next one, you lose. And it's also recreating that sports broadcast feeling, right? So like you're in a competitive sport, you're in that moment, and it's helping recreate that for you. And it also tracks things like your rivalries, like who do you lose against? Who's your main rival? What formats are better for you? How much money have you won or lost over your lifetime against this person? Right? So all of the things that kind of the pros would feel about their game because the public eye is watching them and they're just being tracked all the time. Like now you get to feel that about your Saturday foursome, right? So that's the goal. And like Charles said, it's coming out in the next few weeks. Give it a try. You can sign up for our wait list to be notified at trackgolf.com/play.
Yeah. And another thing that I'm actually really excited about, seeing how this goes is the handicap system. Again, obviously, it's been around for a really long time, but it doesn't have a lot of recency bias. And as you've had your son and I've had 2 kids now, our game goes in, it has its ebbs and flows, right? There are periods where, I'm a single handicap, and there were periods where all of a sudden I played like a bogey player. And I feel like the competition aspect gets very skewed depending on where you are at your game. But I think the key component of the app that I wanted to get is that no matter the skill level, I am wanting to create an environment where the game is meaningful and stays competitive until, near the end. And so we are actually trying our own index system as well, which does give a little bit more recency bias. So, there's going to be a little bit more, fluctuations to your handicap than the traditional GIN, but I feel like it might better represent where your game is today, and hopefully make the competition more fun. So that's another aspect that I'm actually very interested about, creating something new and trying it from our app. All right. Well, before we close, I have a few rapid questions for you. And I feel like this is kind of like interview questions because again, we're so busy that we've never really sat down and, talked about our own company. But yeah, just whatever comes to your mind. Don't think about it too much. A few rapid fire questions. First question for you, Roy, is what's been way harder than you expected about running this company?
Instagram. Hands down, Instagram. The amount of time and effort and planning that you have to put into your social media. And this is like, I worked in advertising and social media for like over a decade, but still doing it hands-on, way harder than it looks.
Yeah. And I don't know if you would have an answer for this, but I thought it was funny anyways. What do you think is the dumbest thing that we've spent money on so far?
Oh man. I would have said the stickers, but because you know, at the end of the day, it's like, well, why a sticker? But A, I love the stickers, and B, so does everybody that sees and gets a sticker. They actually absolutely love it. So I actually, you're right. I don't know the answer to that because I think the stickers is one of the best things that we've made.
For me, I do have what I feel. It's not really dumb, but it's I spent a lot of money on this. When we were originally thinking of the blueprint, right now it's a silicone mat and it's, much simpler. I had in my mind this elaborate tool, this all-in-one tool that was going to fit in your pocket, but it was going to come out and do all these drills for you. So, I hired an engineer to actually like try prototyping some of this, and that's what you 3D printed for me. And, obviously we've come a very different direction from that. And so that's probably the dumbest thing that I've spent my money on so far. The next question is, when you and I have a disagreement, number one, what do we disagree about the most? And how do we decide who gets their way?
Oh, we've never had really strong disagreements. I think we don't, it's not like we see eye to eye on everything, but I think for us, it's usually just like, sometimes it's preference, sometimes it's just, which way we want to do something or not. But, I can't think of any one thing where it's like, oh, that was like such a big like disagreement. Nor is it like we're in lockstep, right? Like we talk about this, and I think so for us, it's always like, yeah, it's usually late at night, but we end up just talking about it, talk through, give our arguments, and again, even then, it's not like arguments. We're just talking about like why I think this way, why I feel this way, and naturally, I think we just come down to like, oh, okay, like that's a fair assessment, and one of us will just concede, and again, it's not like you lost the argument. It's more like, oh, okay, I see your point, and then we just go with that. At least that's what it feels like to me. I don't know if that's how you feel like it's going.
I sometimes feel like I push a little bit harder than you do.
Yes.
So there are times where I have to be very conscious about let's not push as far to see how much like you actually am passionate about this argument and taking it a certain way. And I definitely take that into consideration, but it's something that I have to tone down from time to time.
That's fair.
2 more questions. Was there ever a point that you thought this wasn't going to happen in the last year?
Not going to happen, but there was a point that I was worried. Which is there was a series of things that all happened within like a few weeks. Some of our supply chain was disrupted because of a war, or not a full-blown war. Those just some countries firing missiles at each other, and that just materially disrupted our supply chain, which forced us to change manufacturers, forced us to change our entire manufacturing strategy, move continents with some of our manufacturing. And then also in the middle of that was when all of the tariff stuff started changing as well, right? And all of the all of a sudden our cost of goods was looking like it was going to skyrocket, right? Because depending on the day, the tariff, like what we knew about the tariffs was changing on a day by day basis, right? So like, how do you forecast costs on something like that? And so it was in that stretch that I never doubted that it was going to happen, but I was starting to get really concerned about like, oh God, is this going to be just like ridiculously hard to get through to the finish line? Because this is the first time I've had to ever deal with tariffs myself, right? Because like, right, like in the software world, you're just like, what's a tariff? Like, what do you mean? You just build it with a bunch of code and then you have it. So, that was like my biggest like worry moment. Did you ever think it wasn't going to happen?
I think there was definitely worry around the same period because we were done. We were getting ready for manufacturing, and that those series of events really delayed us about like 8-9 months now to get our product out. But we were, getting pre-orders because we were like, it's imminent that our manufacturing is going to get started and we're going to get our products in. So yeah, that definitely I think was the most worrying time. But the one thing about being involved with startups is that there's always bumps, and I think during that downtime is what really allowed us to focus on track play. And now they're going to be launching at a very similar time. So for every I think concerns, there are also always room for opportunities. So So there's that. Final question for you. 5 years from now, what do you want TRAQ to be?
Not to give away too much of our everything that's in the pipeline and what we have planned, but I want TRAQ to be a household name. Anybody who golfs knows TRAQ and either uses or is very aware of one of our products. And by then we have the whole family of products that we have planned. Yeah, I would love for our collective vision of all of the other things that we have coming, down the pike to have unfolded and be just this known and respected and liked thing that helps golfers along in their journey.
Yeah, for me to add to that, I think golf is already very hard and it's already very expensive and people already have limited time. And so if we can help you get more out of golf with the limited time and resources you have, I think we've done our job. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of the larger vision that I have for the company. But yeah, this was an interesting segment because, we've never really publicly shared about what we're working on, even with our closest friends. I think they know little glimpses of what we shared, but I think this is the first time that anyone has really gotten this in-depth look about what you and I've been working on. So yeah, check us out on our website, traqgolf.com. Obviously the website right now is mostly our starter kit, which is the spray as well as the blueprint. But we also have some very cool products, tech products that are a little bit more, down our avenue, coming up. So yeah, would love your support. And, we're also always looking for, people to partner with, to collaborate with. If you, think that there's an opportunity there, please reach out to, one of us or even to just our info email on our website. We're a small team, so no matter what, Roy or I are going to see it. So yeah, we're very excited for what's in the future for TRAQ. Well, hey everyone, welcome to Off TRAQ, where we talk all things golf from an amateur point of view. I'm Charles, that's Roy, and that's Alex. We're two golf-obsessed tech guys and a dentist. And obviously, Roy and I are building our own golf startup. If you've enjoyed the episode so far, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts and share us with your friends. It really helps us what we do. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more content in between episodes.
So in current events in golf, I swear, this is becoming a running joke at this point. Every time I think there's no more LIV news that can come out, there's something else that happens with LIV, right? This is the thing that won't go away. So now the speculation, and kind of not a surprise, is that Jon Rahm will be leaving at the end of 2026. Charles, are you surprised at all by this news? And what do you think this means for Jon and what he's going to do?
Yeah, I mean, LIV might be losing the guy that they paid $300 million to legitimize the league. But Jon Rahm has looked miserable ever since he joined LIV. So this is not a surprise at all. Plus the LIV format. So they supposedly got a investor to put in $250 million to save next season. But the format is very different. It's going to be reduced to 10 events. And even if you win all those events, it's, from Jon Rahm's perspective, that is very different than what was promised to him. And so I absolutely see there being an avenue where Jon can get out of his contract because it's just no longer the contract that he signed on. Right. What is crazy though, again, all speculation, is that supposedly he is still owed as much as $150 million, which is more than half of their budget for next year.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's actually to the benefit of LIV that, John's not there anymore, is because they get to clear some of that money off the table. But it is going to be a very different league. It's definitely not a premium league that they were trying to advertise as. It really becomes a step down. And I actually don't know what the future for LIV would be if a premier name like John leaves.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you become just kind of a niche thing, right? Like, but you lost your niche because you're not even your namesake 54 holes anymore.
Right.
So supposedly the DP World Tour has actually been informed already that is his intention. Now, again, speculation, but it seems to be widely known that the DP World Tour is expecting him to come back.
Yeah. And Jon Rahm's path would be to play a season or a year with the DP World Tour if he is, top 5?
Something like that. One of the better players.
Yeah. Then he gets a path back into the PGA Tour just in time for them to launch their new signature series.
That's right.
So it's going to be a very wild season of the PGA Tour in 2 years. But I'm kind of curious. Let's say that LIV is willing to pay you $150 million, the rest of your contract, for the duration. Do you take the money and stay, or do you walk away from $150 million to get your old golf life back?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, John is and can still be so competitive, and I think he has so much time left in his career still. That for him, is he at Hall of Fame yet? I think he's close, right? How many majors does he have? He has 3?
He has 2, I think.
So he's, he's getting up there in terms of prestigious career already, just at 2 majors, right? Like something that most people won't get. Is he even remotely in the conversation of one of golf's greats? No, right? Not even close. Does he have the potential to get there? I think he actually would have if he never gone to LIV, right? So if I'm Jon Rahm, I bet on myself, bet that I can make that money up, but then also in doing that, have my career rounded out in a way that I am more known as one of the greatest golfers. And that would be my goal. If it's me as Roy, I take the money there's just this mortgage ain't gonna pay itself. So that's I can't imagine that these guys are satisfied with just money. Otherwise he wouldn't be so unhappy right now. The other thing that just came out is a report came out from Golf Digest via Data Golf. Top 15 golfers, they took a look at what were their distance changes from the 25 season to the 26 season. And interestingly, they all went up, right? And so it was something between 3 to 10 yards or something like that. All of them gained distance. And it wasn't just manufacturing, right? So it wasn't just new equipment. Some of these guys, same exact equipment setup for the last few years, even through now, but they're still showing increases. Does this surprise you at this point? And what do you think is the main reason that everybody still seems to be gaining distance?
I'm not sure how accurate this is, but I know just weather-wise, it's been a much hotter year. It's been much drier conditions. I'm wondering, is it just simply the weather and the fact that the grounds are firmer and so the ball's rolling a little farther? Are they actually, working on speed that much, or is it just simply the conditions? Again, I didn't do the research to really get down to it, but it's been a hot summer. So maybe that's the reason. I'm just is that the reason why?
Yeah, I would say at this point, the guys on the list, so it's Rory, Xander, Scotty, right? The top names. I don't think they're tweaking that much more out, right? They're performing at peak efficiency. If you said, sure, 2 to 3 yards on average, I'm oh, okay, that's a rounding error, right? Statistically. I mean, it's not. I know how statistics works before our listeners get angry in the comments. But, the most interesting thing was I think Rory he was the longest one, and he went from 323 to 328 or 30 or something like that, right? So it's like
Yeah.
he had a huge jump. But yeah, I think it's more. It's a hot summer. The conditions have been favorable because it can't be that everybody all of a sudden has just all gotten better together, right?
Mhm.
Like the law of averages, somebody should have gotten worse in the middle of of that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it's just this super El Nino year. And then lastly, LeBron James is now officially a YouTube golfer. He set up a channel that is dedicated to YouTube, released his first video, which was, I think, the 2016 Cavs reunion. 3-on-3. They played. It was a whole production, right? Like they had a crew, they had everything. What are your thoughts on LeBron being a YouTube golfer?
I am so torn because I feel like LeBron getting obsessed with golf is possibly bigger for growing the game than the PGA Tour stars. It's probably opens the game to a younger audience and audiences that weren't even into golf. At the same time, I could not sit there and watch that content. We obviously have, guys like Bob the Sports, but there's still, they're okay at golf. But some of the golf that they were playing at that event was just painful to watch. So yeah, it was very hard for me to watch it.
I have never seen a bunch of professional athletes look so uncoordinated in my life. And I know golf is hard, right? Like it's not like it's a natural movement. But with the exception of J.R. Smith, who has been on his golf journey for way longer than any of these
Right.
guys. J.R. Smith grew up in the town next to where I grew up, and I've actually run into him on the local golf course. Right, we were supposed to play together once, and he saw it was wide open in front of us, and he was just like, you guys mind if I just go ahead?" And he just like played by himself. So we're like, oh, okay, that's cool. But outside of him, everybody else, I was like, God, this is so uncomfortable to watch. Because it's not like these are decent golfers that are having like a comedically bad round. It was like, this isn't golf. Like these guys are struggling to get any shots off. I couldn't watch it. I was just like, okay, this is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, but
so I agree with you. Yeah.
It's been out for 24 hours and it's at 1.1 million views. It's, on pace to stay with the middle to the latter episodes of the Internet Invitational after 24 hours. And so can bad golf actually be better content than good golf? And I'm actually very interested to hear Alex's take on this because Alex is obviously a little bit younger than us. And, I think he follows basketball a lot more than we do. So Alex, I'm kind of curious. What's your take on this?
Like you guys, I watched bits and pieces of the video. I think like 2 people sent it to me as soon as it came out, expecting me to like it because I like basketball and I play golf.
Yeah.
I enjoy all forms of YouTube content. I think I've come to the conclusion that I don't think everyone needs a YouTube channel. This video very well could have been a short of just the boys having a reunion, hanging out, a couple highlight shots here and there. I don't think I needed to watch the full scramble.
Yeah.
I love that LeBron's, heading off into the sunset, enjoying golf, do his thing, but I just didn't need to watch that video.
Do you think that LeBron could become more influential in golf media than 90% of professional golfers or YouTubers out there?
More influential for the game of golf?
Mm-hmm.
I think LeBron is, obviously one of the most famous athletes in the world. And I think, people just follow him,
Yeah.
So they will watch him cook. They'll watch him play mini golf and they'll definitely watch him play golf. So I think that will still bring viewers. Influential for the game of golf. I don't think many people are like, a lot of people will start playing golf because of LeBron. Yeah, I don't think it really like pushes the game any further than, what's already being pushed right now. But I do think it will get a lot of views and a lot of people will start watching because of it, but they won't it won't translate further into like watching the PGA or like picking up a golf club and going out.
So when the next video drops, are you giving LeBron one more shot or are you going to be passing the next video?
I'm going to give him one more video.
Okay.
I'm gonna give him one more video just because I don't have kids and I have a lot of time. I'll probably watch it one more time. I'm sorry. I know I just said I don't need to have a YouTube video, but I'll give him one more shot just to see if he improves.
Yeah, I think I would give it one more shot. But obviously, I also watch a lot of my YouTube videos at 1.5 or 2x, and so I think it does go a lot by faster. But yeah, an hour and 36 minutes, and they spent like the first 10 minutes introducing their caddies. Like I didn't really need to see any of that. So yeah, but I'll give him one more shot.
All right. Well, that's the biggest news in golf for this week. And now we're going to go to a word from our sponsor.
As always, today's episode is brought to you by TRAQ Golf. TRAQ is the training system designed to help golfers practice with real feedback instead of guessing. And the TRAQ spray shows your exact strike and low point on turf or grass, while the blueprint gives structure to your practice sessions and drills. Together, they help you practice with more intention so you can actually improve faster. Check us out at traqgolf.com. That's TRAQ golf.com.
All right, guys. So I played a round recently, and we played right around 10:30. It's like right before lunchtime. It's at that awkward time where we're gonna play through lunch. So we're just waiting for the car crew to come around, but they never showed up, and we were really hungry. Basically, what I was thinking about the whole time was how nice it would be if I had a little snack to kind of carry me over, and it made me think of what you guys rank as your top golf snacks. I'm going to just list off a couple snacks here, and then you just give me your rank from S to F tier. All right. So the first snack is going to be beef jerky or meat sticks.
Ro, you want to go first?
Sure. Beef jerky or meat sticks, S tier. Easy to eat, high protein, keeps you not full, but it's fast and clean.
When my wife goes into delivery, I always take a huge bag of beef jerky, because if I'm hungry in the middle of the night, I can just eat it, and it keeps me, it won't make you full like you said, but it's filling. The one downside is that it makes me very thirsty. And so for that reason, I have downgraded it to an A tier, but still it's one of my favorite snacks to take when I'm playing my round.
We're talking about chomps or Jack Links?
I don't know if I have a brand, but I definitely prefer beef jerky over meat sticks. And I try to stay away from the highly flavored ones. So this is so racist sometimes, but some of my non-Asian friends always bring me a teriyaki beef jerky, and I hate teriyaki beef jerky.
There's so many Korean barbecue flavored ones these days that taste nothing like Korean barbecue. What flavored it?
No, for me it's just a standard peppered beef jerky is good for me.
That's hilarious. Okay, the second one's going to be trail mix.
Trail mix for me is actually S tier. I think it is probably one of the most practical options, and you can either just put it in your own Ziploc bag, or so many of them already come, individually packaged as well if you go to Costco. And so I feel like it gives you the best mixture of a little bit of sweetness, because I have a sweet tooth, so a little bit of sweetness as well as some good protein, without giving you a huge sugar crash. So for me, trail mix is S class.
I'll give it A. I feel like most of them I'm okay with. Sometimes they're a little too salty. I hate the ones that have raisins hidden in them, or those little yogurt things hidden in them. I'm not a fan. For me, trail mix has to be more salt and nutty, not none of that sweet stuff. Keep the chocolate out of mine.
For me, it is the mixture of sweet stuff that makes it a good trail mix. Yeah. I do agree on the raisins though. Craisins I'm okay, the cranberry raisins I'm okay, 100%. But raisins I don't love it. I actually do like the yogurt chips, or an occasional M&M in there.
You have to watch out for those the squirrels getting into your cart though.
So that's actually a funny story. I had an old bag that I used before. It was very light, a Sun Mountain, and I had to get the zipper replaced because a squirrel literally chewed its way into the bag to steal my trail mix. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
Okay, number 3, we have bananas.
Easily S tier. Bananas are S tier. The perfect golf fruit, self-contained. easy to eat, high potassium so you won't cramp. Replace some of your electrolytes. No, nothing bad about a banana.
Oh, I do actually have a few bad things about a banana, which is why it is an A tier for me. I think bananas have about a 30-minute lifespan, especially on a hot day. Otherwise, it gets too mushy. I also prefer my bananas like right before it gets ripe, so it's a little bit more firm. I don't love mushy bananas. And so for that reason, I think it does have a lifespan. The other thing is I have to be a little careful about where I put it because I don't want it to get all bruised or for it to potentially get squished by something in my bag. So I feel like that little bit of additional attention that I need to put into it drops it from an S tier to an A tier.
All right. The next one's going to be a protein bar.
This is going to be highly controversial, but for me, a protein bar is actually D tier. I know it's designed exactly for this situation. It's portable. I just hate the taste. And I hate the fact that sometimes it just tastes like compressed cardboard. And so for that reason, I never take it with me. And because of that, I give it a D tier. And I know it's going to be very controversial.
I mean, cardboard's a little harsh. I mean, yeah, okay. Some of them taste like cardboard. I'll give it a B. There are some that I like RX bars. I think are good. I'll enjoy an occasional Cliff bar, but they all dry your mouth out.
Yeah.
Like they're not necessarily pleasant to eat.
Yeah.
And I feel like same with the heat thing, right? Like if you leave it out just a little long, and it gets kind of like melty and sticky, and then at that point it is a little awkward to eat. But most of the time, I'll never say no to one if I have one available. So I'll give it a B.
Okay. The next one's going to be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
This is a B for me because okay, who doesn't love a PB&J? Even though we're grown as adults, so I don't remember the last time I ate it. That's not true. I ate a PB&J a few weeks ago. They're not the cleanest to eat. And with your hands, like having a sandwich, I feel like is a little bit more of a thing, like a undertaking than, some of the other stuff that we've mentioned. Not the biggest fan. We can do better. So it gets a B.
I think for me, it's an A tier. I feel like it's secretly, for me, a perfect golf food where there is a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of saltiness. The only thing, again, coming back is that you do need some liquid with it. And it also depends on who is preparing it. If I have to prepare it myself, that's definitely A tier. If it's already prepared for me, put into a nice Ziploc bag, then it might get bumped up to an S tier.
Okay. Sunflower seeds?
Oh man, sunflower seeds. I do enjoy sunflower seeds, but as a golf stack, I think this is a D tier for me. You can, snack on them for hours without getting full. It's really kind of, I think, good for, especially in between shots, and also for people that get a little like fidgety and nervous. Like I think it's like a good thing to have, but I hate the fact that like people just spit the shells everywhere. And I think that's a little gross. I think it's also a little rude to the people that is, playing behind them. It also it's a recurring thing for me, but it also just makes your mouth really dry. So for that reason, it is D tier.
Charles has a lot of hydration concerns.
Yes.
When golfing. Okay, so I can already hear the internet hate with what I'm about to say. Sunflower seeds are F tier for me. I don't know. I've never enjoyed sunflower seeds. It's like there's so much work, right? For what? Like a little bit of salt and flavor. It's like it's almost not worth trying to get the seed itself. And then the seed itself is just like it doesn't have any flavor. So it's like literally all on the shell. So you go through all of that. People are spitting out the shells everywhere. Not worth it.
All right. The next one we have is chips.
For me, they're a C tier because inevitably you have to wash your hand, right? I feel like with good chips, you're going to get something on your hand, right? And like, I hate things being on my hand when I'm golfing. So for me, it's like, no matter how good of a chip it is, it's not worth it. It's a C.
Yeah, I think this is the first great that we agree on. I also think chips are C tier. I do enjoy the taste of them, but I'm exactly the same way. Number one, nutritionally, you're not accomplishing anything, but greasy fingers, it's not good for you when you're gripping your golf club. However, I feel like sometimes it can be used either crumpling and throwing away, or opening one, especially if you want to mess up someone's backswing.
So the noisiest snack on the course.
Yeah.
All right. For the 8th one, we have Snickers or any chocolate bar. I'm sorry, any chocolate bar.
Any chocolate bar, but especially Snickers for me, it has a special place in my heart. That is S tier, given that you eat it before it melts. So you have to either bring it and eat it right away, or you buy it at the turn and eat it right away. And that's actually one of the snacks that I most often go to at the turn, is I'll buy a Snickers, and then I'll eat it within the next like 1 or 2 holes. I feel like it gives me immediate energy. It tastes great. Also, like I said, like I have a bit of a sweet tooth. And so it really is that decent combination of sugar, carbs, peanuts, fat, everything that you need for a successful golf round.
Charles is just angling for a Snickers sponsorship. So if
Yeah.
anybody from the Snickers brand is listening, please send us an email.
Who owns Snickers? Is that Hershey, or is that someone else?
No, Snickers is
Oh, it's Mars.
Yeah. Okay, so Snickers / chocolate bar is a D for me. Same
What?
reason as you. Same reason. Okay, it's gonna melt. All right, so you do have to eat it before it melts. But we go out at like 9 in the morning. Like I don't want a chocolate bar at like 8 or 9 in the morning. And then by the time we get to like, okay, now I can reasonably eat a chocolate. Like at that point, I'd rather go eat lunch. So just to be honest, like I don't love chocolate. I'm one of the few people in the world that I'm just like, nah, if I never had chocolate again, like I don't think I'd be upset.
I mean, but you can't eat a meal in the middle of your round. So hungry? Why wait? Have a Snickers.
Again, Mars, info@trackgolf.com.
I thought like food timing doesn't really apply for golf courses, because I've had a
That's
beer
true.
at like 8 a.m. But it doesn't count.
That's
When you're
true.
playing golf, like, normal rules don't apply.
That's true. As my wife would say, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. This is coming from someone who doesn't drink.
Okay, you guys have talked about this on a previous episode, but it's going to be the hot dog at the turn.
S plus 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 plus. Like made for golf. Like the hot dog at the turn, made for golf. Easy to eat, one-handed, delicious, high source of protein. You can customize it however you want. Filling, no downsides. I mean, other than the whole like every hot dog you eat takes 36 minutes off of your life. Other than that, perfect food.
Yeah, for me, I do think it's one of the most iconic and culturally important golf food on the list. However, it is in between like an A and B for me. For 2 reasons. Number one, the main reason is that it is not very good for you and that it removes 36 minutes of your life. The other is I have a tendency to always spill some mustard on my shirt. And so for that reason, I love the taste. But yeah, it's always in between like a A. It could slide easily into a B for me. I'm in between.
All right, and to finalize our list, we have the clubhouse sandwich or wrap.
Yeah, this is probably the best actual meal on the list, because it gives you real ingredients, but it really depends on where you get it from. Also, depending on the golf course, it is really expensive. You're getting essentially 7-Eleven sandwich for like $12, $15. So for that reason, I have it actually as a B tier.
I have it at an F.
Oh,
F tier. Kind of similar reasons, but like I take a much more negative view. It's not quite a meal. It's not quite a snack. They're usually messy. The better it is, the messier it is, right? Because if you say like a 3-tier, club sandwich with the bacon, like sure, that's delicious. That's so uncomfortable and hard to eat, right? And then you gotta like, hopefully you're riding and then you're balancing like a styrofoam tray and way too much work for what it is. I'd much rather have something that you can hold with one hand. which is, again, why the hot dog is the perfect golf food. So I don't think I've ever, it's been a while since I've eaten a sandwich playing around, and I don't think I need it.
Alex, do you have a favorite out of this list? If you could pick like one or two favorites, what would your go-to snack be?
Let's see. Out of this list, I'm a big hot dog at the turn guy. I mean, I agree with Roy. It's like I never really eat hot dogs, but I have a craving right around the 8th hole where I'm like, I kind of want a hot dog right now.
No, it's true. The only times I eat a hot dog is on the golf course or if I'm super hungry at Costco.
Yeah, Costco. I have a question for you guys. Just a quick little bonus question for our listeners. Do you have a food that we didn't have on this list that you think our listeners should try?
Oh, absolutely. I do, but Charles, you know what mine is.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
I do have one, and you will surprisingly find this in a lot of LA golf courses because LA golf courses are run by Koreans, and that's the kimbap. It's like kind of, for those that don't know, it's like a Korean version of like a seaweed rolled rice sushi kind of thing, but without the raw fish. I actually feel like that's S tier for me because you can, like you said, you can eat it in one bite. With one hand, it doesn't get anywhere. Everything is already sliced to put in your mouth for one bite. The only downside is with it being like rice, you can't keep it in hot temperatures very long. But I would very much prefer that at the turn than, to be honest, a hot dog.
That's a good one. I didn't think about kimbap. I would eat a kimbap on the golf course. Mine is a roasted sweet potato. But this is like, again, I feel like it's a very Korean thing because I feel like I see a lot of Korean people having roasted sweet potato. You just roast one, right? Like stick one in your oven or your air fryer or whatever. Doesn't have to be hot. You just bring it out. You can eat it with one hand. It's relatively easy. It's like, I mean, I could see Charles having issue with this because it might make your mouth a little dry.
I was just going to say, it makes you really thirsty.
That might be F tier for Charles.
Yeah, Charles is like, get out of here with your sweet potato. But if you have a warm one, right? So like, because I grew up on the East Coast, right? If it's like a chilly day and you have a warm sweet potato, roasted sweet potato, it's absolutely delicious, right? It warms you up a little bit. It's full of nutrients. Yes, you will be a little thirsty, so you may need to bring a little extra water. But other than that, like, man, love it. I love me a good roasted sweet potato.
Have you guys played at Westridge down in OC in Orange County?
I have not.
They have a Spam musubi at the turn. Very good. Very good. Plus, like, it's like in the saran wrap, so you can kind of just slowly peel it out so you never have to touch it. It's actually really good. I love how all of our stuff was like all Asian.
I know.
All right, so that's enough for this week. But for our listeners, thank you for coming along with this journey. We've now made it past 30 episodes and letting us talk a little bit about ourselves and our product. Don't forget to check us out at trackgolf.com. And please like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite podcast platform, as well as on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. As always, that's enough getting off track. May your mulligans be many and your 3 putts be few.